Hi. I wanted to say hi to all the class and make sure we're connecting face to face. I am asking this week because next week we're going to have our first test, and because this week we're doing some review, I'm going to ask everybody to make that connection with me one on one, which means find an opportunity to call me, find an opportunity to chat with me through Skype or find some other way. And we'll go over then some of the memory work together. It won't be a quiz. We'll just see what do we remember of these memory verses. We do have a quiz this week over all the vocabulary in the book, and I know that's a lot to review, but you know what? We're going to have that same, we're going to be covering that same vocabulary for the whole rest of the semester. So let's just make sure we see what's in our long-term memory. Let's make those piles of flashcards. The ones that we get right go in one pile, the ones we get wrong go in another pile. We keep going over those a few times. And we're going to just get our vocabulary down. We're also going to make sure everything we've already learned about verbs that we actually know that we can use it. We can identify those verbs. We can parse them. We can translate them correctly. In order to do that, you've got to be able to know the basic strong verb perfect and imperfect in the call. You need to know yiktol and tiktol and ektol and niktol. You need to know katal and katalta and katalti. You've got to know those verbs in order to parse. You've also got to know what I call that verb paradigm diagnostics chart, the one that reminds us that the hifial, where it adds the hi and where it doesn't. In the imperfect, there is no hey at the beginning of a hifial, but there are still some clues, some diagnostic clues. We'll go over those. Similarly, the nifals add that ni. There aren't always the ni when it's in the imperfect. But there are diagnostics. There's the dagesh where the noon drops out. And we will be able to learn and identify and parse verbs. That's our goal for the rest of the semester is to be able to identify words, tell when a noun is in construct, to be able to read the Hebrew Bible. So I want you to contact me and find out what you need to practice. Your test will be parsing some verbs and translating some sentences. That will be the test. That will be the second test, and then finally at the end of the semester. So do contact me. One other fun thing we're doing that I want you to tell me when you contact me, I want you to tell me a couple of verses you've chosen from the Old Testament because we are now in that second half of the semester when I want you to not only get ready for the test next week, but we will start researching a couple of verses that you really want to study. I suggest you find verses that interest you, just one or two that, at most three, that interest you, that you'll translate, that you will find out what they look like, what the text variants are, what all of the words mean. You'll be experts on those one or two or three verses. And so find something you're working on for a sermon. Find something you're excited about. I think learning Hebrew is just kind of fun, but I also think it's useful. And here at the end of your first year, it's a time for us to try to figure out what is the usefulness of this. What can we learn and study and use some different tools because we are studying Hebrew than we could do if we just knew English? What kinds of conversations and discussions can we be part of because we can say a few Hebrew words and parse those verbs and look up those nouns? And so, again, contact me this week by Friday. Let me know what things you're struggling with in reviewing as we come up to the test. What things give you trouble when you pick up a verse from Genesis and try to just read it? Is it the vocabulary? Is it being able to find things in the dictionary? Is it being able to parse verbs? Or can you parse the verbs just fine, but maybe you can't put together the nouns well? Talk to me about that. We'll talk together about the memory work that we know, and we'll also talk about what one or two or three verses from the Bible, from the Old Testament, you want to study more in the weeks to come. Your actual assignments this week then will be vocabulary quiz. There will be a grammar review quiz where you just practice some of that parsing, and we will be translating some more from Genesis chapter 3. So moving ahead in Genesis chapter 3. I'm going to, right now, make a couple more recordings for YouTube. One will be a recording of the vocabulary that didn't get the sound last week. Sorry for that. One will be a recording of me reading Genesis 3. So everyone who gets this, do touch base with me. I will put this by email. I will put this on our open class. Get in touch with me so we can talk about where you are, what you've been learning, what you still need to learn. Are you ready for the test? And also, what verses do you want to study in this second half of the semester as we're moving forward, even as the class as a whole is going to be Genesis. Um, I'll talk to you all then one at a time individually, and we'll make sure we're on the same page. Thanks so much.